More life, more vision. It's Motivation Friday. And I'm your host, Joe Chege. You already know it's another week, another blessing. Today, I wanted to talk about a quote that's in one of my favorite books, and the book is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And there's a quote that says, "Every blessing ignored becomes a curse." Why? Why did I choose this quote? I chose this quote because I felt like sometimes we don't even realize how blessed we are. We don't even realize how much we've got in our lives, like how life is good. And we tend to complain. We tend to just count the negative things in our life instead of looking on the positive side of it. We tend to be pessimistic instead of being optimistic. And when you read that quote, for me, it clicked because I was like, yo, that means whenever I ignore my blessing, whenever I don't practice gratitude, whenever I'm not content with what I have, then what happens is whatever was supposed to be a blessing to me turns into a curse. Like you start feeling entitled, you start complaining, and you don't even realize how blessed you are. Why am I saying this? Think about it. When you wake up in the morning, you have the gift of life. Like you can breathe freely, like you don't have to pay for anything. And at the same time, God forbid, there are people in hospitals who are fighting for their lives. Like they need money to be in the intensive care. And for you, you have the gift of life. You can breathe in, you can breathe out, you can jump up and down, and you don't have to pay a single dime. Like it's given to you freely. And that's a blessing. So think about it. How many things have you done this week? Or how many things have you experienced this week that came to you free of charge, that have a high value, but nobody asked you for anything? And still, you're complaining because you didn't get your favorite cappuccino from Starbucks. Or not only that, you're complaining because you didn't have your favorite meal today. When there are people somewhere around the world that haven't seen a single meal for the past maybe 24 hours or 48 hours. There are people struggling with famine. There are people who are struggling for a job, and you're complaining because of the job that you have, just because they didn't do what you expected. Like we have all these expectations in our mind that have turned us to people who are not grateful, but people who feel entitled. And I felt like we need to think about it, like how many things have we ignored in our life? How many things have we complained about in our life, which at the end of the day, when you think about it, they're not even problems? And we tend to do that. And this is funny. Think about it. The way our mind works is we tend to think of the negative instead of the positive in all aspects of our life. Like the first thing that comes to your mind when you want to do something great is like, what if it doesn't work out? What if this doesn't work out? What if this is not meant for me? Like we tend to be on the negative majority of the time. And I thought it was necessary to highlight that quote because when you focus more on the bad things in life, you tend to ignore the great things that are happening around you. Just waking up, you have the gift of life. What can you do today? How blessed are you compared to somebody else who's undergoing pain because of a disease or a tragic situation that has happened in their life? Like when you wake up, you need to count your blessing. You need to practice gratitude, like make it a habit at the end of the day, before you go to bed, to ask yourself, what have I been able to accomplish today that I'm happy about? Like, what blessings have I experienced throughout my week that I am grateful about? Like, we need to do a checkup on ourselves. Like, we need to do an analysis of the things that have happened in our life and learn to be grateful, because that's going to help us step into the next level of our life. That's going to help us work on our blessing and prevent them from turning into curses. When you know all the great things that are happening in your life, when you learn to be grateful, I believe things are gonna start working out for you, because at the end of the day, you're putting out a positive energy. Like you have this vibe, you're like, yo, things are working out for me. Even though this didn't work out, I'm still optimistic that it's gonna work out tomorrow. Like when you have that type of a mindset where we learn to be grateful even in the midst of chaos, even in the midst of challenges, things become easier. But if all we do is complain, if all we do is look at the negative aspect of life, if all we do is look at why things are not working in our life, guess what starts happening? It becomes a snowball effect where everything starts going wrong in your life. Everything starts being messed up in your life because you're putting out this negative energy without even realizing it. So I just want to encourage you to make it a habit to always count your blessing. Make it a habit to always be grateful and realize that this life is a blessing. Because once you start experiencing this, once you start living in the positive side of your life, once you start believing and acknowledging all the blessings that you have, I believe great things are going to start being amplified in your life. You're going to be tapping into that positive energy and things are going to start working out. Like, we need to practice that and make it a habit to practice gratitude. So, like that quote said, a blessing ignored becomes a curse. We need to start counting our blessing and ignore all the negative vibe that's happening in our life. If it didn't work out, then what can you do about it? Like, if you have no control over anything, just let it go. Focus on what you can control, because that's the most important thing in your life. All right. So our quote for the day, or our inspiration for Motivation Friday, is remember that all the blessings ignored becomes a curse. Count your blessing. Practice gratitude. And when that happens, all we can do is just chill and enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey of life. All right. Until next time, I'm your host, Joe Chege, and this is Motivation Friday. Peace and blessings.